What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be discussing the box office for this weekend, and oh boy, this was real rough for one film in particular, and that is Joker Folie-à-Deux, or as I like to call it, Joker Floppy-a-Doo, because this thing bombed, like incredibly bombed, like bad, like unbelievable. Um, Probably one of the worst underperformances that we've seen of the decade, for sure, 100%. It bombs, opening with $37.8 million domestically. To put that into perspective, the lowest opening weekend for any Marvel film, now this isn't a Marvel film, but let's put it in perspective here, the biggest opening ever, or the lowest opening ever for a Marvel film was $46 million. The Marvels did it last year, and this was lower than that. So that's just insane that this was lower than even the Marvels could muster up. And it gets worse for this film the more you look at it, because um, maybe some people are like, okay, maybe it has a low opening, but like the original Joker back in 2019 had a much higher opening, but it definitely held well from weekend to weekend. Not going to be the case for this one because it has a D cinema score. And if you don't know what cinema score is, it's like a grading system for movies. The audience comes out and it gets like an audience consensus of how they enjoy the film, how good the film was. And usually most comic book films usually tend to be like A minus, B. Cinema scores are like decent. For comic book films, obviously you get an A, you're on top of the world, right? And occasionally you'll see the B minus, the C plus for comic book films like Madam Web, which was really bad, and other comic book films that have just been really bad, like Morbius, and I think Captain Marvel got a really low grade. The Marvels also got a really low grade. But the lowest comic book cinema score of all time was Madam Web and Morbius, which had C plus cinema scores. No comic book film has ever received a D cinema score. Never. It's a terrible grade for a film. You usually only see them with like cheap horror films. Sometimes, occasionally, usually even cheap horror films can get above a D. But this is absolutely horrible, and if we go over to the Rotten Tomatoes score, it doesn't get any better. A 33% from critics and a 31% from audiences. That's terrible. That is one of the worst one of the worst percentages on Rotten Tomatoes that I've seen in a long time. And most of the time, the critics and the audiences, they usually don't agree. Sometimes you get the critics loving it, the audiences don't, or the critics hate it and the audiences love it. But in this case, I think the consensus was all the same, that everybody hated the film. And I have not seen the film yet. Me and my dad have not seen the film. We were celebrating my Momo's birthday this weekend, so we didn't get a chance to see it. But hopefully we will within the next couple days, and we'll get our review up probably either tomorrow or Wednesday. But we'll see. I mean, probably not going to like it. I mean, I'm going with an open mind, but I'll probably not like it. Some of the reasons for this flopping is probably there's a lot of musical elements to this film. You don't have to watch that to know. There's a lot of musical elements to this film. It's kind of like a musical. They tried to be real creative with it, and it felt like they did a little bit too much. They were like overly creative and overly different, because that's what we liked about the first film, right? The first film was like, wow, I can't believe this is a movie. Like, I can't believe that Warner Bros. Did this. Right? I can't believe this is in theaters. And I think that was the thing with the original Joker, was it was very different than your average film. And I feel like they had the wrong message with that, and they took it to mean, hey, let's do more of that. And they were a little bit over the top different, and not in a good way. I think the biggest obvious for that is Joker Folie-à-Deux. They did like a French title, and Folie-à-Deux means madness for two. Meaning like Lady Gaga's character and Joker, right? Madness for Two. And it makes you wonder why they didn't just call it Joker Madness for Two and then ditch the French title and just go with that, so that everybody could just be like, oh yeah, Madness for Two, that's what that is. Instead of having to look it up to know what it means. So I think that was a little bit of a dumb decision on Warner Bros.' part. And I think the whole musical thing was also probably not a great decision because most people don't like musicals. And this is not a film that I would see a lot of music being in it. The first Joker had some music in it. There was like barely any, but there was some and it was fine. I don't know why they didn't just stick with that. I don't know why they had to do more music, why they had to go and try to be different than the first film, because the first film was amazing. The first film was great. I recently just watched it a few days ago, and I love the film. And I really don't know why you would change much. I mean, it was the biggest R-rated film of all time, billion-dollar R-rated film, the only one until Deadpool and Wolverine just came out. I don't know why you'd change anything, but that's just me. Let's go over to the top 10 now. Obviously, Joker Folie à Deux. It looks like it fell even further, 37.6. Well, that's not good. It just keeps going down. Number 2, The Wild Robot, $18.8 million, down 47%. It's a great hold for this thing. It opened very high with $35 million, which is just insane because The Wild Robot opened pretty much the same amount of money as Joker 2, which should not happen. It just shouldn't happen. So good on The Wild Robot's doing really well. Number 3, Beetlejuice, $10.1 million, great film, down 37%. It ended with at $265 million domestically for its run so far. Coming in at number 4 is Transformers 1, which dropped 41% and made $5.3 million. This one, it's a good film. We saw it. It's a really great film. It's got a lot of great moments in it, but it unfortunately is not doing very well. Only $47 million domestically so far on its entire run, which is not good for it. It's not at all. Coming in at number 5 is Speak No Evil with $2.7 million, down 35% from last weekend. It's up to $32.5 million. That film's actually doing really well. I think it had maybe a $20 million budget or something, and it's gotten all of that back at this point. It's doing incredible at the box office right now. Coming in at number 6 is Deadpool and Wolverine with $1.5 million, down 43%. That film's up to a massive $633 million domestic on its entire run. White Bird, A Wonder Story, which is a prequel. We're also going to go see that. We didn't get a chance to see it this weekend, but we're going to hopefully go see that one as well. It's, I believe, a prequel to Wonder. So who knows? That'll probably be pretty good. $1.5 million, similar to Deadpool and Wolverine. Coming in at number 8, we have The Substance, which made $1.3 million, down 34%. That film's actually doing very well. Very low budget film, and it's doing great at the box office right now. For the fact that it lost 1,000 theaters. It lost 1,000 theaters, and it still only fell 34%. Is pretty incredible. That film's almost at $10 million domestically on its entire run. Coming in at number 9 is Megalopolis. Megalopolis is actually what it's called, but it's Megalopolis, dropping 73%. That thing just keeps falling lower and lower and lower and lower. It's crazy. Just a little over $1 million for that this weekend. It's only up to $6.5 million, which is just horrible for this film. Anyway, coming in at number 10 it's on screen. You can see it. I'm not going to say it. Little under $1 million, about $800,000, down 59% at $4.4 million on its entire domestic run. So there you have it for the box office this weekend. Coming in next weekend is Terrifier 3, which it's going to be a pretty rough weekend. It's a very slow weekend. Nothing really major coming out besides Terrifier 3, which is probably going to make between like $5 to $10 million. I'm going to say Terrifier 3 makes $11.3 million. We're going to go a little higher, $11.3 million. I think that there's like a cult fan base for this franchise at this point. So I'm going with probably around $11.3 million for the weekend. So that does it. If you guys like this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new, and comment down below how high you think Terrifier 3 is going to go, and what do you think of Joker Folie à Deux, or Floppy à Deux, completely bombing this weekend, and can it recover even with a D cinema score? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys next time.